Last time we talked about the legendary birds, but today we are covering where it all started for so many Pokemon players. Today, we are explaining the Kanto starters. Ken Sugimori has said that he wanted the original starting trio to be simple animals that more or less maintain their shape. By making them animals like frogs, lizards, and turtles, it was easier for players to get a sense of realism and familiarity, which is also why most of the Pokemon in starting areas tend to be small birds, rodents, and other pet-like Pokemon. They start you off with simple designs that help get you immersed. If you guys enjoyed this series and have ideas for which group or Pokemon should be talked about next, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to MysticSage for more Pokemon content. You can also follow me on Twitter at MysticSage94 for updates on the channel and to know when I upload. But for now, let's jump into Pokemon 001 Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur's name comes from mixing bulb and saur, with bulb referring to the plant on its back, and saur coming from the Greek word for lizard. Its design is based on a frog, and Ken Sugimori apparently stated that this Pokemon began with Venusaur's design and went backward from there. Ivysaur is Bulbasaur's first evolution. Its name again combines saur with ivy, again taking some plant-based influence. As far as design though, Ivysaur looks like a more aggressive and mature Bulbasaur. Its bulb looks like a Rafflesia plant, while the big leaves look like a palm tree blooming. Finally, we have Venusaur, whose name combines saur with Venus from the Venus flytrap. This big old frog looks like a way more monstrous version of Ivysaur. It looks older and more dangerous. The Rafflesia plant has fully bloomed and the palm leaves have extended outward. All three of these Pokemon being based on frogs and other amphibians really leans into the typing of grass poison, as many frogs and toads can be poisonous. Of course, Venusaur also has a Mega Evolution. Venusaur gets more jungle-like in appearance. Vines drip down from his flower, a second layer of palm leaves appear over his back, and a flower sprouts on its forehead and booty. Most important from a competitive standpoint is that Venusaur gets stick fat, making it more resistant to ice and fire. This meant he had way less effective weaknesses on top of getting a health boost and a lot higher defenses. Venusaur was already the most useful of the three starters, however with this stat buff and new ability, it really became a monster. There were some matches where destroying this chunky tree toad would win you the game because they just didn't have anything that could kill him. Between Leech Seed and Synthesis, anytime they even got close, you could just heal up. He was one of the most powerful and threatening walls of the era, and I absolutely loved using him. However, unfortunately, Megas are a thing of the past, and now we have Gigantamaxing. Venusaur's Gigantamax form has its palm leaves dripping down and looking like messy hair, and its flower has bloomed into a massive dome or umbrella covering its entire body. Finally, the small crown-like ring on top of the flower has grown into a massive crown instead. I've always loved the Bulbasaur line, despite how unpopular it can be. Bulbasaur is adorable, Venusaur is a chunky boy, and the Gigantamax form is actually pretty darn cool. Ivysaur is a little lackluster to me, but still cool, and Mega Venusaur is kinda goofy looking because of the big face flower, but he was so much fun to use that it made up for it. The Venusaur line is super useful defensively, getting access to moves like Leech Seed, Synthesis, and other stall moves. Or you can run him in a more aggressive set with a pretty diverse set of special attacks, and even a decent attack stat if you want to go physical. Not that I really recommend it though. I do want to speculate on G-Max Venusaur's signature move. Charizard was all about continuous damage, so we might see something similar. Possibly a toxic pheromone inflicting toxic to any non-poison or still Pokemon who swaps in, or giving himself some massive healing for a few turns. Something along the Charizard idea is pretty good to me, but I really do prefer the more wallish or supporty abilities for Venusaur. On to the line that everyone older than 10 is tired of, the Charmander line. Charmander itself gets its name by mixing the word char, meaning to burn, with salamander. And when I say salamander, I don't mean the real world reptile. I mean the mythical salamander, which is a fire spirit that emerges from fires, which is pretty awesome. In terms of design, Charmander looks like a salamander with a flaming tail. Charmeleon continues the char naming, but this time combines it with Charmeleon. He gets some sharper edges, longer claws, a more muscled body, and this weird horn on their head. I'm not crazy about this design if I'm honest, it just feels too boring to be a middle stage evolution. And then we have Charizard, combining Char and Lizard. It has a big old belly, two big wings, and his one horn has sprouted into two. This is the original dope Pokemon, but I think to some degree, we can all agree we're kinda tired of it. Of course, Charizard has not one, but two Mega forms. Charizard X sees him changing from a Fire Flying to a Fire Dragon Pokemon. He gets a dark color palette, and his flames turn from red to blue. I love Charizard X. things. He's super edgy, but despite that, he's just so much fun to use. He's a powerful physical attacker and can use things like Dragon Dance to make himself even more dangerous. Then we have Charizard Y, a powerful special attacker with the ability Drought that can be devastating. A Charizard that can launch out a Solar Beam and that makes water Pokemon weaker is just way too scary. Both of these new forms turn Charizard from a super weak and nearly irrelevant mon to one that was on a ton of teams. Charizard X made for such a powerful threat, and if your opponent had to swap out and you got a free Dragon Dance off, you basically won the match. Not to mention the Dragon typing made him stronger against Electric, Water, Fire, and Grass, all of which were common types to be on almost every team. Mind you, it also did have weakness to Ground and Dragon, but that was more than fair. Charizard Y was much more commonly used though. It felt like every other team you would run up against would throw out this pain in the butt. Its wide-ranging move pool, powerful special attack, and decent speed, along with its new ability, made it such a versatile and safe addition to any team. Need a fire type? Boom. Flying? Boom. Something with defog? Sure, if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. Strong grass move? Solar Beam. This Pokemon offered a little of everything, and that's probably why we saw it so often. Of course, these got subbed out with Gigantamax Charizard. Charizard looks slightly more draconic in shape. It looks like its design is longer and more arched back, but now it has flaming wings that wrap it up to their shoulders, and fire is bellowing out of its mouth. It's a pretty cool Pokemon, but it just feels very plain compared to things like Gmax Snorlax or Venusaur. All the same, the Pokemon definitely feels epic. It is hard to argue that this thing doesn't look intimidating. Those glowing colors that make it look like it's made of fire, the flaming wings, and the slight change to the shape just all add together to make a genuinely really cool addition, but I still wish they added just a little more to him. At the very least, its signature move is pretty interesting. It's more or less a big buff to Fire Spin, not damaging on hit, but dealing massive damage to any non-fire type for 4 turns and locking them into battle. It's a fun move, but I'm not sure if it is the most useful thing around. Finally, we have the Squirtle line. Squirtle's name is a combination of squirt and turtle, but also, you can't convince me Squirtle isn't a part of it. I mean, look at that tail. Anyways, Squirtle is an absolutely adorable blue little turtle boy, and when he evolves into War Turtle, he gets big ears and a much fluffier tail. It's definitely the best of the middle stages in Gen 1, and naturally the name comes from tortoise, turtle, and more. Pretty sweet. Finally, Blastoise, the biggest shell water Pokemon with cannons on his shoulders. And to match the cannons, he adds Blast to his name. There isn't much to say about Blastoise, as his design is definitely the most basic of the 3, other than the cannons. But aside from those, it's just a bipedal tortoise. Of course, we had Mega Blastoise, which gets sharper superfacial features, and swaps his 2 cannons out with a single massive cannon on the center of his back, and one on the back of each of his hands. He looks a lot more like a tank in this mode, and honestly, I like it a lot more than the base form. He had access to Rapid Spin, which was nice, but his ability made Pulse moves much stronger, meaning Water Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Dark Pulse, but it also powered up Aura Sphere, which is also pretty neat. This was probably the least used of the 4 Megas, but it was definitely fun. It was a solid defensive wall and a Rapid Spinner, and it could really pack a punch. The biggest thing holding this Pokemon back was, as always, its speed. If it was just faster, or maybe if it even got Shell Smash, it could have been one of the strongest Pokemon of the gen. And finally, Gigantamax Blastoise. We swap out the cannons for a whole naval base? It looks like someone took a Navy Island from One Piece and threw it on a turtle. It's easily the most dominating, cool one of the 3, and I absolutely adore it. This thing looks absolutely insane, and it almost feels like a Digimon more than a Pokemon. But I mean, Digimon are cool, so that's fine with me. As for its special move, I think I'd like to see something like Charizard's again. Instead of Fire Spin, it'd be Whirlpool. Alternatively, we have all these cannons now. We might as well use them. Maybe a barrage of cannonballs could fall down and deal damage to your opponent for a few turns. Either way, I love this Pokemon and I'm so hyped to see what they do with it. Then there is of course one more starter Pokemon form we need to talk about. All the way back in the first generation of the Pokemon anime was an event that led to hundreds of theories and dreams about the future of Pokemon. Fusion. A Ghastly used their power to make Venusaur, a combination of Venusaur and Blastoise. It was amazing, and everyone has been waiting for more ever since. Of the 3 original starters, I'd say I always kind of liked Bulbasaur the most. He was just such a really cute design, the flower was always adorable, and Ash's Bulbasaur really made me like it even more. And those are all my thoughts on the starting lineup. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and let me know which starter is your favorite down below. Also, let me know down in the comments below what group of Pokemon or single Pokemon you want me to talk about next. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other Nintendo content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, and much more. Also, I've been reviewing every episode of My Hero Academia Season 4 over on MysticSage, so head over there if you're into that too. I would love that a lot. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Memory Martin, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weiss Austin, Sodden Grider, Nigma97, and Kermit117 did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbran, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.